All right, welcome to our first ever virtual town hall. We're going to give folks just a couple of minutes to get logged in. Just wanted to get the stream started. If you're with us on the chat and the stream is working, let us know. All right, give folks just another minute or two on this Tuesday evening. All right, working well, that's good. I don't know how I saw that. I just went to the eye doctor. I've got 3 screens in front of me in this new experience, and I just somehow managed to pick that chat out. It's like when the eye doctor takes the letters and goes all the way to the smallest, and somehow I guess years of doing that, you start to guess the letters. All right, well, it is 6:30, so we are going to give just 30 more seconds, and then we'll get started on this Tuesday evening with our first ever virtual town hall. I've got Ben Nicholas with me here, and he's monitoring the chat for us because I don't think my eye luck is going to work that well that many times. All right, Ben, are we ready to go? Fantastic. All right, well, welcome to VT's first ever virtual town hall. My name is David Williams. I'm the superintendent here at Village Tech, and I'm excited to be with you. In so many ways, this year and the end of last year has felt an awful lot like the first year. So for those of you that were with us in year 1 and remember those days of getting started and the portable buildings coming in and wondering when the decks would get built, things are a little bit different today, obviously, as we're in our new permanent space. But in the same sense of uncertainty that we've kind of worked throughout the spring and the summer, we've been getting geared up for this fall and excited for a new school year. And I said it early on in this, but it still remains true. There is still not a pandemic response section in the charter application. So as I know, we've all been watching and waiting and seeing how this unfolds across not only our North Texas region, but the state and the nation at large. So we're going to jump right in to this town hall. The theme this year for Village Tech is building bridges, both literally and figuratively. We want this to be an experience for our students where they can think about bridge building from a technical standpoint, but we also want to acknowledge that this is a time for our community to build bridges with one another, for our nation to build bridges among our relationships with one another, and we want to explore that in depth this year. So I want to get us in the spirit of bridge building and show a few bridges that we may be familiar with. I did watch this weekend. I watched a documentary on bridges, believe it or not, and it was the most suspenseful movie I've watched in a long time. I know, it's bad. You can take the teacher out of the classroom, but you cannot take the teacher's jokes out of the teacher. So this first bridge, I'm sure many of us have seen it. It's the Margaret McDermott. Oh, I've got a transition. Here we are learning with this new format. So here we are. This first bridge is the Margaret McDermott Bridge in downtown, connecting West Dallas to downtown Dallas. She was the widow of Eugene McDermott, the founder of TI. She recently passed away as well, a Dallas icon, and this was named in honor of her and all that her family has done. This next bridge is out in Colorado. It's the Royal Gorge Bridge. It's quite a spectacular feat that we've seen working across this region near Canyon City. A pretty beautiful experience there. And then for those that have had the privilege of traveling to the beautiful city of Venice, which, by the way, has had quite the environmental positive impact since the reduction in travel and tourism. This is the Rialto Bridge. This is a city unlike any other, where the roads are actually canals. And then the Tower Bridge in London. I met someone who actually was buying from the shops around the Tower Bridge, and they bought some pants, but they ended up not being really too pleased with the pants. They kept falling down. I know it's bad. I think that's the only two I've got. After this, I can't make any promises if the jokes are going to get better or worse or happen at all. And then, of course, the iconic Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. Just an incredible suspension bridge going across the bay there. So as we talk this evening and we prepare for our first day of school, we've already knocked one item off of our agenda, and that's our theme of building bridges. We're also going to talk about our mission and values that have continued to evolve out of our strategic work over the last year. And then we'll talk about this VT Virtual Tour 2020. I'll hit a few of the frequently asked questions from parents, and then additionally we'll do our best to answer some questions through the chat, but also if we don't get to your question tonight, know that we're recording them, and then we're going to publish those so we can get those answered. And then finally, our call to action is regarding tech needs, so I'll get into that. Before we get into our mission and values, I want to introduce you to three very special people on our campus. These are our campus leaders. We have our pre-K-5 campus director, Miss Brandy Olmstead, there with her son, Bray. I know it's hard to believe. He's quite tall, and that's her college son attending Oklahoma State University. And then that's Brandy in real life and Brandy online with her Bitmoji. And then our pre-K-5 assistant campus director, the fantastic Yolanda Lacey. You get her in person as well as online because we're going to see both this year. And then, of course, our 612 campus director, Sharetta Stewart-Mays. There's her in her office. This is actually a broader picture where she's sporting a VT water bottle. And you don't see the college banner behind her, but a proud supporter of Dillard. And then, obviously, her back-to-school welcome and hello for her Bitmoji as well. These are your three campus directors here at Village Tech. They are going to be our guides and our sages and the ones that take us through this year and lead us through in this bridge building effort that we're making. So talking about our mission and our values this year, our mission, and this has remained true from day one, is that at VT we collaborate as designers and leaders to forge students who are character-driven, challenge-ready, and community-focused. At this point, I just want to give a welcome and a shout out to any of our new families. If this is one of your first interactive VT experiences, this isn't exactly the way we wanted to meet you this year through email and YouTube live experiences, but this season will pass. And we'll have an opportunity to work together in person and learn together in person. But I want to welcome you to the Village and give an opportunity for you to understand what we're about. For our returning parents and our returning students, I'm calling on you this year to really double the efforts on building those connections with our new families and our new students, because it's going to look a little bit different in the fall. But in this mission of collaborating as designers and leaders to forge students who are character-driven, challenge-ready, and community-focused. Those are our 3 C's. Character, because we want school to be a place where kids can learn who they are. An opportunity for them to develop their unique voice, their unique talents, their unique skills, and to recognize that they have an identity and a self-awareness that can help lead to confidence later in life. Additionally, for challenge, we want students to learn things that last. And so we want students to learn how to be designers, we want them to learn how to be makers, and we want them to contribute to solving problems within our local community and beyond. And that takes us to our 3rd C of community. We want students to know they belong, that they have a spot here at Village Tech, regardless of their talents, regardless of their abilities, that they have a community of friends and peers and colleagues and teachers who are going to continue to push them and grow them and help them to achieve their absolute best success. And so over the last year, we've worked through and developed these 3 values that really speak to the mission. The first one being belong, the second one being lead, and the third one being design. And I want to give a shout out to Don Wolf, our 9th grade English 2 teacher, who actually worked with these words to recognize if you put them in this order, the acronym they make is BUILD. I'm always a fan of a good acronym, and for those that know me, I'm also a fan of alliteration. As a former creative writing teacher, you sometimes just can't help yourself. So belong, we believe that when we belong, we thrive, that this is a foundational condition for learning. It allows students to take risks intellectually. It allows them to try new things. Too often, we find that in school, it's a place that students don't always feel like they can make those mistakes. But we want them to see that a failure at first is a first attempt in learning, an opportunity to experiment and try and grow and learn, and then to persist and to achieve greater things beyond that. And that starts with this sense of belonging. The second value is lead, and that we believe that we must lead to learn and learn to lead. We know that leadership, first of yourself, then allows you to have influence in a positive way with others so that you can go on to accomplish even more things together. And then finally, design. We believe that we are at our best when we design. We know this from companies around the world. We see colleges creating more programs to support this, that students need to be able to be creative, that they need to collaborate and communicate and be effective in the environments that they're going to go for. And what we love about design specifically is it's very focused on the human element, that students learn skills in empathy and learning how to listen and how to work with others. And so this trait and characteristic of design is really a difference for our students. And one of the things I love is hearing from our graduates who have come back. And because they're VT students, they'll tell you the good things that they've experienced at Village Tech and the things that we need to work on. But some of the things that they said made a difference for them when they went to college or to their jobs post-graduation is things like, I'm always the leader in each group that I'm in. In fact, I just got a text from a parent a couple weeks ago that said, well, my son was at their orientation at their college, and no one in the group would step up and talk. And my son, who used to be quiet, is the one that stepped up and led in this group. And we hear that over and over again from our graduates. They also speak to creating meaningful work in high school, so they have confidence in the things that they're producing. They also speak to they're not intimidated by people of varying ages and abilities, because throughout their career at Village Tech, they were working with other community partners, with students that were older and younger, with different experts that were out and about that could help them bring their ideas to life. So these three values really form the foundation for who we are at Village Tech. And going into this year, we're going to focus on three key areas within these values for our school community. First, we want to prioritize health, connection, and voice. You'll see this in our 4-day schedule, giving an opportunity for all at our school to have a chance to sharpen the saw, to train in new ways, whatever it is that they're working on. Additionally, we want to continue to create in this digital environment ways for us to connect. We've come across great forums like this one with YouTube Live, or the Friday update video, or our webpage with direct access to the teacher websites. We want to continue to improve upon that and have opportunities for connection. And then, of course, voice. We want to honor our students' voices. We want to honor their families' voices. We want to honor them for who they are, their ethnicity, their race, their cultural backgrounds, and for us to understand that it is in our diversity that we find strength. So that's a core priority for us this year. And then also lead. We want to develop the leader within and take ownership of our learning. Really on all three of these, well, let me finish and then I'll get to the charge to our new students, or to our returning students. We want students to step up and know that in this online environment, even more than usual, it's going to take some initiative. It's going to take students stepping up. And yes, we're pre-K-12. That looks very different for a 4-year-old versus an 18-year-old. We know that a 4-year-old is much more dependent in their learning, is going to rely on a much greater partnership between parent and teacher and student. And that just is a whole different look for those ages. But by the time they're in high school, and especially our seniors, they should have the maturity and the capacity to take initiative, to reach out to their teachers, to be the ones that are really advocates for their work and their learning. And then finally, with design, we want students to participate in design and forging and presentations of learning, because beautiful work doesn't belong in a backpack. And so even though we're not able to gather together in person at the beginning of this year, there are still digital opportunities to create. Design is tool agnostic, meaning you can design with a marker and a piece of paper, or you can design with a 3D printer. It really doesn't make any difference. It's all about developing these skills and mindsets. So here's my charge to returning students. We're going to need you at VT, because you know what it means to be VT. You know the values we stand for. You know what it looks like to reach out to other students and make them feel like they are a part of the village. We're going to need that in this online environment. For those of you to really reach out and make our new students feel welcome, whatever grades we're talking about. It's going to take our students really stepping into this and making them welcome. We're going to need the same thing from our students to our new teachers. We have new faculty and staff this year that are going to need for the students to embrace them and continue to build on their training over the last week and a half and into the rest of this week on what it means to be a squid, what it means to be VT. So that's my charge for our students that are returning. We're going to talk a little bit more about some of the details in this VT Virtual Tour 2020. So why are we calling that? Because why not? It's our virtual experience to start the year. And so this begins August 24th. That's this Monday. This Monday, August 24th, is the first day of school for Village Tech. You can find our calendar on our website. It shows all of the school days. For the most part, students are off on Fridays. However, there are a couple Monday holidays that you'll want to pay attention to. In particular, the one coming up on Labor Day, where we do have school Tuesday through Friday. Essentially, we're looking at 4-day weeks throughout the week. Okay, so this begins on August 24th. This is scheduled to be online through September 21st. So that's when we'd be looking to come back for in-person instruction. Now, I will say TEA has given this flexibility to schools, that we can use this 4-week starting transition to be online and then possibly extend that an additional 4 weeks. And like I've said since day one, I don't have a crystal ball, none of us do, and we're really not sure what other flexibilities may emerge. In the meantime, we're currently preparing for in-person September 21st, and then after that, looking at if we need to extend it. We'll be taking into account Dallas County Health and Human Services, what their risk ratings are, and if that's the right time for us to move to in-person. At the end of the day, it's what we've talked about before. We all want to be in school, learning and working together. That's our desire, that's our goal. But we want to make sure that we can do it in a way that is as safe as we can make it. And then also to make sure that we are ready for that in-person experience in this new environment. So this is the calendar. Again, the first day is August 24th. And then this is the VT Virtual Tour. So here's the deal. I clearly love students because I have avoided Bitmoji for about a decade. My entire family created Bitmojis pretty much right when it started, and I resisted pretty well for quite some time, mainly out of self-respect. So I held off on the Bitmojis. But we are using Bitmoji Classroom as a way to create some of that connection to teachers, for us to have some of our personality out there. And so here you go. I will say thank you to the Bitmoji app for creating a selfie feature so that now you can just take a picture of yourself and it automatically creates it. And I think it did a pretty good job. It wasn't too difficult to make. But no, I think as our design director, Mrs. Podania, said, it's starting to grow on me. You got to be careful what you name things. You've got to be careful getting into Bitmoji, because suddenly you find yourself sending text messages with Bitmojis and including them in some of your emails. So nonetheless, here we are. Bitmoji, Mr. Williams, here he is. At least he's playing a pretty rockin' axe there with his guitar. All right, so let's talk about, if that's our calendar, let's talk about what asynchronous learning means. You may have heard these two terms in the news, synchronous versus asynchronous learning. So synchronous learning is simply meaning an experience where there is a live two-way interaction between student and teacher. And we will have some of that taking place each day. That will be a part of the learning. But in terms of the way we're taking attendance in the asynchronous method. Okay? That means that there is flexibility within the learning day. So what does that mean for each of our three groups, teachers, students, and parents? So for teachers will provide a daily schedule. So these will come out by grade level. I'm going to show a sample of one for us to look at. And then within that daily schedule, it's going to be a mix of live classes, whole group, small group, one-on-one opportunities, as well as online learning resources. And then live classes will also be recorded. That way, students have flexibility in their day. For example, you have technology issues, you have Wi-Fi issues. Maybe there's something that comes up in that day that makes it difficult for that student to be where they need to be at the time they're supposed to be there. That's why we're choosing the asynchronous method. So students are expected to follow the schedule, but then they have the flexibility to complete their work throughout the day. Now this is important because this is how attendance works. In order for your student to be counted present each day, they will have to submit evidence of their learning by 11:59 p.m. each night. So obviously the best time for this is going to be when the opportunities are presented throughout the day, but maybe there are days where that just doesn't work with the family schedule. Maybe there are things like I mentioned before where internet access is a challenge for that day. Maybe like the storm that we had the other night knocks your internet out for the morning or whatever the case may be. In that case, you just reach out to your teacher, talk to them about what you're working on and how you can get that submitted. And this is how students will be counted present for that day. That's the asynchronous attendance method. And then parents, especially in this first couple of weeks of school, please ensure that you're receiving all of our school-wide communications as well as the teacher contact information. So we want to make sure that you're getting the emails from the school, that you're getting communication from your teachers, whether that's email or Remind, and we want to make sure all of that everyone is connected. So if you go through next week and you don't see any communication from a teacher or from the school, then somehow we are not connected, and we need to get that fixed next week. Also, some tips for working at home. Work with your child to create a learning space at home. It doesn't have to be fancy. It just has to be intentional. I saw one parent who came up with buying one of those science trifold poster boards and setting that up and having some of the daily schedule printed out. They ended up writing their child's name. They let their child decorate it. It was a really great way to say, this is the space for learning. I was taught a long time ago that anytime you're studying or preparing for some kind of test, whether it's an academic feat or an athletic feat, the more you can put yourself in the space, which puts you in the mental space, the better it will be. So it doesn't take much to do this. A chair, a TV tray, or a dining room table, or maybe you have a desk at home. We just want our kids to have a space for learning. I can tell you from experience, when I was in college, I was a history major, and that demanded quite a bit of reading, and I often made the mistake of going to lunch, putting on the freshman 15, and then I would come back to my dorm room, and I would get in bed to read. I've learned that anytime I am reading on a couch or before going to sleep, I love to read, and it still knocks me out. So we want to make sure that our students have a good space to learn. All right, I'll get off my soapbox on that one. I know that's the message sent. And then also, parents, please become familiar with the schedule and help your child navigate the online learning tools at the beginning. It's gonna be rocky, okay? The beginning of this is going to have a few missteps and misfires and bumps along the way. That's okay. We're going to work through that together. We just need to be patient with one another as we keep starting this new school year together. So just give it a minute as we work through it. All right, so here is a sample schedule. If you'll notice on the left of this schedule, it shows the normal time for the school day. So this is what our normal school day time will be once we return to in-person. The online schedule, it has more gaps within it for students. We included the full time so that we could see the window, but that's an opportunity for that learning to take place at that time. So obviously arrival does not apply to arriving to our campus. This is online. Arrival may be students getting ready for their day. They've gotten up, they've brushed their teeth, they've put the clothes on that they're going to wear for the day. Maybe you had an opportunity to get a new school outfit, and so you want a first day of school outfit, and so arrival is mentally preparing for the day. And then they're going to have some kind of experience to open the day. Now, depending on the grade level, this is a 5th grade sample. Our students would start with a circle, an opportunity to connect, hear announcements, and this would be something that can be live and then obviously recorded as well. And then they'd move into some of the subject area content, English and social studies, math, obviously taking breaks for lunch and recess and opportunities to move about the cabin, as it were. And then we have in this sample schedule time for small groups. So during that time, the teacher may be working with certain small groups while other students have flexibility to work on what they've learned in the morning. And then in the afternoon, you have science, cleanup. Now, you may be thinking, this looks like something to do in the classroom. I think it's an excellent opportunity at home for students to start to reset their day at the end of it, to start to put things back in order, whatever supplies they have, to go ahead and put them where they need to go. And in this schedule, the day ends with PE in this sample. So it may look different than this, depending on the grade level, but this gives an idea of what the schedule would look like. For students that are in person in the beginning of this year, the schedule is 8:30 to 12:30 at this time. We're still working on those exact details, and it's contingent upon need. So in this case, our online schedule is a sample here for everyone. All right, so grading at VT. You'll see me sweating in this one. Ben likes it. He gave me a thumbs up, and I got a laugh out of him and a smile. So two things on this. Last year, we ended the year with a grading system designed for crisis schooling. This is no longer crisis schooling. Yes, we are still one day at a time working through this new reality as a state, as a nation. But at the same time, every day is a day closer to us being through this experience. And that means every day is a day closer to our students still needing to be prepared for the next stages, whatever those look like. And so in this case, we ended last year with a grading system that was essentially the teacher either has evidence and can see that the student is ready for the next level, this is for grades pre-K through 7, or the teacher is not sure based on the evidence provided. It doesn't mean that the student's not ready, they're just not sure. That's not the grading system we're going to start this year with. So the second thing is, for those of us that are returning, we know that we've been working through mastery-based grading since day one. Last year, we adopted a software that we believed would be effective in better communicating grades to parents and students and teachers, and it didn't work. It just didn't go the way we wanted to. And so what we talked about over the summer, I want to thank Ms. Morris, Ms. Williams, and Mr. Thompson, and Ms. Lacey, and others who contributed. We worked in a design sprint to ask ourselves, okay, how can we more effectively communicate learning and scoring and grading at Village Tech? Because our current system, it's kind of like being in a country where you don't speak the language. And it takes so much effort to translate that we could better spend that time building relationships, designing meaningful work, having students learning new skills. We decided to take that element of translation off. So we are moving to a grading system that is pretty straightforward. Teachers will put assignments into Skyward. It will be graded on a 100% scale. And then there will be 3 categories that are weighted. So the 50% is under mastery work. These are things like tests, presentations, your large assignments where students are really showing what they know. 30% of the grade will be daily work. These are your daily activities where students are continuing to build their skills. And then the last one is methods work, 20%. So 20% of a 9 weeks grade will be students learning design thinking, social emotional competencies, professional and leadership skills, and that will be the 3 components that make up the grading system. So again, when you go into Skyward, which I recognize you may have questions about access if you don't have access yet, or if you're a new parent, you've registered, but ultimately, once it's ready for you to start this year, you'll go into Skyward and you'll see in the grade book that this is the assignment, this is how my student did, and this is their average for the 9 weeks. And then that will work throughout the rest of the year. We'll have more information on that, but that's just kind of a quick overview of what grading looks like. All right, so the next one, and this is a big item with questions that we've seen a lot of questions from parents on so far. So we have some updates here. Technology pickup. For those parents who have requested technology, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. The times are 5:30 to 7:30 on Thursday and Friday, and then on Saturday it's 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Now, before you start putting this on your calendar, I want to say a couple things. First, in the big, kind of not the prettiest yellow, it is important to know students can use their own devices. I know maybe we've seen on the news where different schools require that students use their device. This is not the case at Village Tech. If your child has a device and it works for them, it doesn't have to be a Chromebook. It doesn't have to be a MacBook. It doesn't have to be the newest Sony Vaio. It doesn't have to be an iPad Pro. If it works for them to access their online materials, as well as for them to be able to submit their evidence of learning, then that's great. That's the device they need. So students can use their own device. And so one thing I want to point out right now, in the spring, we had enough Chromebooks for every student that requested one. But at this time on our technology reservation form, 600 students have requested Chromebooks. We have 239. So right now we're looking through that list. We're looking at, are there duplicates? Are there students who already have them? What might be going on that prompted 600 students to request at this time? So if you have your own device and realize, oh, I filled out the form, but I actually don't need a device. If you have your own device, please email Heather Perry at hperry@villagetechschools.org to remove you from the technology reservation. She's going to help support this through the month of August, and then we'll have a new contact person for you. But in the meantime, in order for us to get this list kind of itemized and culled it down to a number, 600 students have requested, but we have 239, which doesn't match what we had in the spring. So if you have a device that you can use at home, then please, we would love for you to use that. And then if you don't have internet or technology access at home, please contact your campus director so they can work with you on that and talk about options. All right, so that's technology. So let's talk about health and safety for a minute. Yep, it happened. It's another Bitmoji. It may be true. I may have turned to the Bitmoji dark side. So health and safety. Again, August 24th through September 21st, students will be online only. Okay, and then September 21st, when we return to in-person, these are some of the measures that are already in place, and we're still developing measures. But the first and foremost is self-assessment is key. Ensure that if your child has any unusual symptoms, that they stay home, because they will still have the opportunity to learn online. I think that's so important to recognize here. On days that when we do return to in-person, if your child has a symptom or needs to stay home, they can still complete their asynchronous learning and be counted present for that day. That's the flexibility we have with the Texas Education Agency this year. So that's important to know. Also, while I'm thinking about it, it's important to know that if you have filled out that form, and we have almost 100% of our parents who have selected online versus in-person for the time when we return to in-person, we have more parents who have selected online and less parents who have selected in person, which is great. And that will take place once we return to in person. If you are looking to change, You can move from in-person to online at any point in a 9 weeks. However, in order to move from online to in-person, we can only make those changes at the 9-week mark. So every grading period is when you'll have the opportunity to do that. So I've seen a few questions from parents that say, okay, so I want my child to go back in person, but let's say I'm not comfortable with it after a couple days, can I move to online? Yes, absolutely. For those students who are online and want to move to in-person, they can do that at the 9 weeks. All right, some other health and safety items. Masks will be worn inside the buildings by students, staff, and guests. VT will provide the first mask to all students. And then transitions between classes will be minimized. Breakfast and lunch eaten in the classrooms. And then we've increased our cleaning schedules, and then hand sanitizer will be available. We're looking at other means for social distancing, sanitation, contact tracing, and we'll have more information on that, and that will be released prior to the first day of online classes. All right, so next steps for parents. First, technology reservation. Again, if you have technology, please be sure to reach out to Heather Perry to remove your reservation request from the list so that we can have that technology available for those families that may not have a device that their student can use. And then also there will be updated information. Just mark those times for technology pickup. It will be communicated when to come within those 3 days for the pickup. And then this is important. Now, you won't find all of the grade level links ready for you, but visit the VT website and go to the VT virtual school virtual tour, which is under, I believe, parent resources, and then also the back to school information. Those two locations have a great deal of answers to questions about the schedule, about the calendar, and then also the link. So what will happen for students as we get ready for the first day of school, one, they're going to receive a phone call from their teacher or grade level before August 24th. It's a VT tradition that we love to be able to make that connection. So as long as we have the accurate phone number in Skyward, we'll be reaching out to make that initial connection with students. And then the access to their classrooms, it will be online, just like under COVID-19, but now it's under a different label, VT Virtual Tour, where you can go to that grade levels website. It will take you to their Bitmoji Classroom, which will have all of the access to things like Google Classroom, online resources, frequently asked questions, how to contact your teacher, those types of things. So we're currently uploading those and adding those links to those grade level web pages, but that's where you'll find that information. All right. And then some frequently asked questions that we've had so far. One that we've seen a few times, how many hours on average are learning assignments expected to take daily in order to be completed? Well, the Texas Education Agency has set the following minimum guidelines for asynchronous instruction. They say that as a school, we should be at a minimum providing 180 minutes for so that's 3 hours for full day pre-K. So 3 hours for full day pre-K for those students to be engaged in some kind of learning activity, whether that's in an online interactive experience, watching something that's recorded, doing an activity that they've gotten the instructions for, whatever it is, a minimum of 3 hours. For grades kindergarten through 5th grade, it's the same 3 hour minimum. And then for grades 6 through 12, TEA expects our plan to have 4 hours of instruction or learning activities for the students in that day. So those are the minimum guidelines. So as we submit our asynchronous learning plan to the state, this is what they're looking for to assure that we are providing this for our families and students. All right, this question, will there be flexibility as to when students can get their work done each day, or will it need to be completed on a certain schedule? So there will be flexibility within each day, but per the guidelines, students are expected to submit work each day. So unlike in crisis schooling, where they were able to complete an entire week at once if they wanted to, each day, so on Monday, students will submit something. On Tuesday, they will submit. On Wednesday, they will submit. On Thursday, they will submit. So each day, they'll submit some evidence of their learning, and then they have to do this by 11:59 each day for attendance purposes. All right, will remote learning continue after September 21st? Yes, students will be able to continue in online learning, and we anticipate this will carry through the fall semester. Obviously, the changes we're looking for are some degree of vaccination, herd immunity, obviously looking for guidance from our public health authorities, the state of Texas, the Texas Education Agency. Being that we're in an urban area and not in a rural area, we have different case counts, and we have a different experience than some of our smaller communities throughout Texas. So we're going to continue to follow that guidance, and we anticipate having an online option throughout the fall, potentially into the spring, but that's to be determined. And then for answers to questions, the school calendar and schedule can be found on our website under Back to School. For technology distribution and access through the month of August, please reach out to Heather Perry. She's our 612 Student Services Assistant, hperry@villagetechschools.org. For online learning and course schedule, you can reach out to Tori Taylor, our pre-K5 counselor, at vtaylor@villagetechschools.org, and then Tina Thomas, our 612 counselor, at tthomas@villagetechschools.org. Now, we are still filling class lists. So currently we are creating the schedule in Skyward, our student information system. Class lists are being developed, and teachers will be making those contacts. So please don't send emails asking who your child's teacher is going to be just yet, because they will know that before the first day of school. They will be contacted, but in the meantime, they're working that. But if you have questions about online learning or the course schedule, and then if you're just not sure who to contact, you can reach out to our reception, Darlene Nene Williams, our campus grandmother, as she is affectionately known, at N. Williams at Village Tech Schools, and then Abigail Diaz, our pre-K5 reception. And then just one more time, I wanted to point you to your campus leaders. Now for tonight, because this was our first time to do a virtual town hall, and we weren't sure what we needed to have, to make sure it all went well, you just got me. But as we look to do these in the future, we'll get different faces, different voices, but I don't want you to leave the town hall tonight without an opportunity to recognize who your campus directors are. Ms. Olmstead, pre-K5, Ms. Lacey, assistant pre-K5, and then Mrs. Mays, our 612 campus director. So these are our guides and leaders throughout this year. All right, so at this time, we're going to take a few minutes to see what questions we might be able to answer. And I will say I've seen a lot of items going into the chat just in my peripheral vision. It's been blowing up the whole night. And so I may not be able to answer your question tonight. We may not get to it. We may miss it. Or we may need to get back to you with the answer to your question. So if you don't have your question answered tonight, that's okay. Don't worry. We're getting a list of these questions, and we'll do our best to get those answered in the time frame that we need to. So, all right, here are some questions for us from the parent chat. Thank you for sending these in. Okay, so the first question is, what metrics are we using to determine if the online learning will extend to October 15th? So we're going to be looking at the Dallas County Health and Human Services risk factor and guide. They have a color-coded chart that tells us what the risk level is. That's built on case counts, hospitalization rates. That's going to be our starting point for how we determine if online learning will extend for all students. Great question. When do we find out who our teachers are? That's going to happen in a phone call before the first day of school. So before this Monday, August 24th, you'll get a phone call with the teacher. If for some reason you don't have a phone call, you can reach out to your campus director, or you can reach out to the grade level that your child's attending. So you'll be able to get that information on our website as well. All right. Same thing, how can I connect with the school? Going back to the connection list, if you have questions about technology, reach out to Heather Perry. If you have questions about the online learning and course schedules, reach out to our counselors. General questions can go to Ms. Williams and Ms. Diaz. And then obviously you can reach out to your campus director who can point you in the right direction for answers to your questions. What constitutes evidence of learning? That's an excellent question. And so we're still working through what we want to have submitted as evidence. There's different options that the state has provided, but they're all kind of vague. So one of them is like making progress in a learning management system. Another one is turning in a daily assignment. And so we want to make sure that we provide a simple and clear item for this is the thing we're looking for attendance. Now, obviously, there's going to be other work that students are going to be doing throughout each week that may not necessarily be for attendance. That shows evidence as well, but we want to ensure that they submit that evidence for attendance, and we'll make sure that's noted each day. All right, is there a dress code? So at Village Tech, we've always said, mind your misses, the modesty, respect, and safety. So we want students to dress with modesty. We want students to dress with respect for themselves and for others. And we want students to dress with safety in mind. And this is designed especially around a campus that has decking, as well as a lot of tools and a lot of opportunity for students to get to work. And we want students to learn how to dress for the occasion. So there are times when it's a professional presentation and students need to be dressed professionally. There are times when they're working with paint and they need to wear something that it would be okay if they get paint on it. So in online school, we still want to show up and bring and present our best selves. As Ben told me when he came on at Village Tech, you want to dress for the job that you want. So we don't have a uniform. We want students to be able to wear the clothes that they feel confident and comfortable in, and we want them to learn at a young age how to dress appropriately for the occasion. So same thing in the online environment. We want to make sure that students are dressed appropriately. Now, obviously, you only see half of us, hopefully, in these environments. I can say that for myself, I wore a lot of suit, tie, and shirt and sports shorts at home. There are, in fact, some pictures. But at the same time, making sure that what we're presenting on screen is modest, respectful, and is safe. All right, when is technology given out? Again, that'll be Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. How can I get better communication? That's kind of a broad question. One possibility is if you're not seeing consistent emails, we send a weekly email on Fridays. If you're not getting those, please check your spam folder or your junk folder. That may be something. Also, if you're a new parent with a new student, please continue to work with Heather Perry and Cynthia Piedra, and they can work to make sure that your information is up to date and accurate and skyward. And then, of course, once your teacher starts to open those lines of communication, ensure that you are getting those consistently. All right, is there a virtual Meet the Teacher? We do have Fish Camp that's scheduled, and then we are going to have some Meet the Teacher opportunities. We're working on some of our first day items, and then what we want to do over the course of these first couple of weeks, we want to give ourselves an opportunity to kind of get our feet under us, make sure that students are connected, that the technology is working, that they have access, and then we'll continue to build those relationships. Something that's really special, I think, about the beginning of school for Village Tech is we do something called the first 8 days, and this is tied to Covey's Leader and Me and 7 Habits, and it's an opportunity for us to really establish these are our values, these are our beliefs, these are our goals as students, so we can start working with purpose from the first day. All right, let's see what else we have here. Question about PE. We will have PE. Obviously, when it's in the online environment, our PE instructors will provide videos and opportunities for connection there. How do we get access to Skyward? So for Skyward access, again, reach out to Heather Perry or Cynthia Piedra so that they can make sure that you have the correct login information. All right. Let's see. Another question here is, what's the plan if there is an outbreak? We have a public health operational guidebook from TEA that speaks to each situation. And so obviously if students show symptoms or there's a confirmed case, then there are certain protocols put in place for going home, for students that they were in close proximity to, and teachers that they may have been in close proximity to. And then, of course, because we have an online system that we're comfortable with, if we have to go online for a certain number of days for a large number of students that were in person, we'll be able to do that. But there'd be communication in the event of some kind of close proximity event once we're in person again. All right. Let's see. Who do we contact for internet? Again, please reach out to our campus directors for that one. So Miss Olmstead, Miss Lacey, Miss Mays. And then, oh, I love this question. If there's tech that we have, can we donate? I think we would be interested in seeing that. We would love an opportunity for another student who needs something if someone has extra and they'd like to donate. Reach out to your campus directors for that. And then will there be a test run? It's a live test. Every day is a live test. And so we'll get started on Monday. And if we find that there are areas to troubleshoot, we will troubleshoot them in real time. And again, we're just going to work through it together to the best of our ability. And then what are the designated school hours? So our in-person school hours are 8 to 4:30 for pre-K 5, and then 8:15 to 4:45 for 6 through 12. That's because we went to a minute schedule per TEA, and so we have a longer day Monday through Thursday, but this affords us this opportunity for Fridays, which replaces half-day Wednesdays. If there's been some confusion about that at all, we'll no longer have half-day Wednesdays. Instead, it's full-day Friday. So this is the same spirit of half-day Wednesdays, just for the full Friday for all of us. But the online schedule, again, is going to be, it's going to mirror that to a degree, but it's going to be based on grade level. And then there's a question about Zoom versus Google Meets. At this time, we're still using Google Meets. If we continue to find that we need to look at Zoom as a possibility, we'll keep that on the table. But we're a Google Suite school. We use Google Classroom, Gmail, Calendar, Drive, and then obviously Google Meets as well. And so I know at the beginning it's gotten better over time, and there are some new features that we're able to make use of. All right, so I know we've got more questions coming in. I'll give it just a moment to at least capture those questions, and then we'll make sure that we get these questions copied and then post these answers. This was our first ever VT virtual town hall. Please feel free to send some feedback so that we can warms and cools, right? That's the way we like to do feedback at Village Tech. Warms, what are the things we liked? Cools, how can we improve this as we move forward? We've got some parents that are working on revamping our Parent Connect experience this year, and so that's feedback that they would love to incorporate so that we can continue to gather in these virtual sessions and experiences. And again, I just want to reiterate the charge to our returning students and families. I know something that our teachers are wanting to make sure we do well here in this online experience is build those relationships with students. That's fundamental to learning. It's fundamental to the Village Tech experience. And I know in the online world, sometimes it feels like there's a barrier because we've got this screen between us. And so to our returning students and families, it's really a call to action for all of us. How can we go out of our way to make sure that our new families feel welcome in this VT environment? And then when we get back on campus, we'll be sure to do some things to celebrate. We want to make sure that we make these connections early throughout the year. So that concludes our virtual town hall. I'm going to go ahead and stop the streaming. Thank you so much for participating. And we finished in record time here. I think we had this scheduled for a little bit longer. So thank you so much. Great to have you on this evening.